You got annoyed today. Maybe it was the loading bar that took 4 seconds too long. Maybe it was the delivery that said, "Arriving today," and didn't. Maybe it was a person who wouldn't get to the point fast enough. You felt it, that low, simmering irritation, that quiet rage at having to wait. Here's the question nobody is asking. What happens to a person who can no longer tolerate delay? Not just inconvenience, not just discomfort. What happens to your ambitions, your ability to learn, to build, to become, when your nervous system has been trained to treat waiting as a malfunction? Because that is exactly what is happening to you right now, quietly, and you are paying for the privilege. Think about what it used to cost to do ordinary things. You wanted information? You drove to a library, located a physical index, pulled a book from a shelf, and searched page by page. You wanted to reach someone. You called a landline, hoped they were home, and if they weren't, you waited. You wanted food. You prepared it over heat, over time, with your hands. Every single ordinary task carried weight. It demanded presence. It demanded patience as the price of entry. Now, contrast that with today. You have a supercomputer in your pocket connected to almost all of human knowledge. Groceries arrive in 20 minutes. A generative AI will write, summarize, design, and decide for you before you've even finished your sentence. Friction, that useful, necessary resistance between wanting something and getting it, has been systematically engineered out of existence. And we call this progress. But here's what we didn't account for. Friction wasn't just an obstacle, it was training. Every time you had to wait, every time you had to persist through a slow or difficult process, your brain was building something, a psychological muscle we might call tolerance for delayed reward, the capacity to stay in the discomfort of not yet long enough to arrive at eventually. Modern convenience didn't just save you time, it quietly dissolved that muscle. And most of us didn't notice because the dissolution felt like relief. We outsourced our minor inconveniences and accidentally deleted our grit. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your head. Your brain runs on dopamine, but dopamine is widely misunderstood. It isn't simply the pleasure chemical, it's the anticipation and reward chemical. Dopamine fires when you work towards something and receive it. That gap, the effort, the uncertainty, the chase, is where dopamine does its most powerful work. For most of human history, dopamine was earned. You hunted, you planted, you built, you endured a process, and the reward at the end felt significant, because the brain had calibrated the reward to match the cost of pursuit. Now consider what algorithmic convenience has done to that system. Every swipe, every instant delivery, every one-click solution delivers a small dopamine hit with zero latency. No waiting, no uncertainty, no effort. Just stimulus, then reward, then stimulus, then reward, over and over, in a rhythm so fast that your brain begins to recalibrate. This is not metaphor. This is neuroscience. When your brain is conditioned to expect reward within seconds, it begins to treat any process that takes longer as broken, as punishment, as something to escape. A task that will take 6 months? The brain reads that as suffering with no visible end. A skill that requires years of deliberate practice? The brain compares that to the instant dopamine of opening an app and finds it unbearable. We have trained ourselves to mistake the discomfort of the long game for evidence that we are doing something wrong. This is what I call the biological downgrade, a zero-latency lifestyle slowly recalibrating your reward system until patience feels not like a virtue, but like a disorder. And the tragic irony? The things that matter most in life, mastery, deep relationships, meaningful careers, genuine wisdom, all of them live exclusively on the other side of the long game. Here is what the biological downgrade produces at the level of real life. When you have been shielded from minor discomforts long enough, you lose the emotional vocabulary to handle major ones. Think of it this way. Grit, true psychological resilience, is not something you either have or you don't. It is built. It is built through thousands of small encounters with difficulty where you chose to stay rather than escape. The slow internet connection you breathed through. The long book you finished even when it got dense. The skill you practiced badly before you practiced it well. These micro moments of chosen friction are the reps that build the muscle. But modern life offers us an exit at every single one of those moments. A skip button, a summary, a shortcut. And we take it, rationally, reasonably, because why wouldn't we? The problem is cumulative. Individually, each shortcut is harmless, but across thousands of daily decisions, across months and years, we are building a version of ourselves that has never been trained to sit in difficulty. And then we wonder why, when life presents us with a real hardship, a failing business, a difficult relationship, a long recovery, we collapse faster than we expected. There is also something I call the algorithm crutch. We have offloaded not just tasks, but decisions. What to watch, what to read, where to eat, who might interest us romantically. All of it curated by systems designed to remove the discomfort of uncertainty. The tolerating uncertainty is another word for courage. And like patience, courage atrophies when it goes unpracticed. We are becoming emotionally dependent on systems that were designed to serve us, and the dependency is invisible because it is so comfortable. Here is the paradox at the heart of modern ambition. We live in the fastest information era in human history. You can learn about almost anything in minutes. Tutorials, courses, summaries, expert breakdowns, available instantly at near zero cost. And yet, the actual acquisition of skill has not sped up at all. Your hands still need 10,000 hours to master an instrument. Your mind still needs years of immersive practice to develop genuine expertise. Your character still needs repeated encounters with failure to build the kind of wisdom that holds under pressure. The timeline of mastery is biological. It does not respond to software updates. And this creates what I call the great abandonment. People begin with genuine desire. They want to learn the language, build a business, write the book, develop the craft. They start. And for a short while, the novelty provides its own dopamine. But novelty fades quickly. And then comes the long middle, the plateau where progress is invisible, the skill feels distant, and the results are nowhere near the expectation. In any other era, most people would have pushed through because there was no alternative, because the culture around them normalized the struggle. Today, there is always an alternative. There is always something faster, shinier, and more immediately rewarding one tap away. And so, we quit, just before the breakthrough, every time. The slow burn is not glamorous, but it remains the only competitive advantage that cannot be automated, shortcut, or delivered in under an hour. So what do? I'm not suggesting you cancel your subscriptions, smash your phone, or move off the grid. Convenience is not the enemy. Unconditional convenience is. The solution is deliberate, strategic friction. I call it inconvenience training. The concept is simple. You identify the places in your life where you have eliminated all resistance, and you manually reintroduce some of it. Not as punishment, as practice. You read the long book instead of the summary. Not always, sometimes. You cook the meal instead of ordering it, once a week. You sit with a problem for 20 minutes before you ask an AI to solve it. You let the discomfort of not knowing yet exist in your body long enough to remind your nervous system that it can survive uncertainty. These are not grand gestures. They are reps. Small, daily reps that rebuild the tolerance for delay that modern life is quietly draining from you. I also want to introduce the concept of deep time. Deep time is any block of your existence that you deliberately protect from the attention economy, from the relentless, algorithmically optimized pull of instant stimulation. A walk with no podcast, a journal entry with no audience, an hour of practice with no measurement of progress. Deep time is not productive in the modern sense. It is not optimized. It does not generate content. But it is where the self is quietly rebuilt. It is where patience is restored. It is where you remember that you are not a device to be kept perpetually charged and connected. The world will keep accelerating. The algorithms will get faster, smarter, and more seamlessly convenient. That is not going to stop. But you have a choice that is increasingly rare and therefore increasingly powerful. You can choose the struggle of the process over the emptiness of the instant result. You can choose to want something and wait for it, to work for it, to become, slowly, the kind of person who can endure the long middle without flinching. The death of patience is not inevitable. It is a default, and defaults can be overridden. Every time you choose to wait when you could have rushed, every time you choose to persist when you could have quit, every time you choose deep work over distraction, you are making a deposit into a version of yourself that is rarer and more capable than almost anyone around you. The algorithms are optimized for your attention. Optimize yourself for your future. If this hit something in you, share it with someone who needed to hear it. And if you want to go deeper on building the kind of mental resilience that modern life is designed to erode, subscribe. That's exactly what this channel is for. Timeless wisdom for life, love, and growth.